Did Schultz play hoedown tunes on the fiddle?
Yeah.
And he played blues on it too?
No, just hoedowns on the fiddle.
Pretty much the same kind of tunes that everyone else played? Or did he have a different style?
And a little different style. He played just a little blues in his fiddling. If he played Sally Good, and it'd be just touches in there where he'd touch it. It's a little blues way he'd do it. And if we played it in A, well, he played in G. He didn't play, like a white man played.
Mm-hmm.
I played guitar, just I could play chords, and I'd follow him. We'd start at before sundown, play the sun up the next morning, play all night long for $5.
At a dance, huh?
Yeah, sawdust, dancing sawdust.
Man, how old were you then?
Oh, I must have been around 14 years old, 13 or 14.
Boy. Didn't people ever think anything about your playing with him in a band, or very often did just white people and colored people play together in a band like that?
They never did play back there together.
Never
I was
did?
the only man that ever would have played with a colored man.
Is that a fact? Did people ever remark on it to you? Or?
No. They might have thought that they wouldn't have done it. But he was a real musician, and I thought it was an honor to get to play with him. And he would have played with me if I could have played a fiddle, of course, He was a real man, real colored man.
How did you come to know him?
Well, I start with him and two other colored men come there to Rosie and play for the dance. Before that, maybe a year before that. So then they'd got him to come up there to play. Maybe he was in town then or something. They wanted him to play for the dance that night. And I played a guitar with him. First time we ever played it. But man, he could play the blues. There's no colored man today could play blues with him. Nobody in the world could play blues with that man. There was a contest he played and he didn't win.
On the guitar?
Yeah. If he played a guitar behind the fiddle and he used a straight pick, that nobody today played anything near like it. And it's a shame somebody can't play a guitar the way he played with a straight pick. I told Monroe Travis that, and he didn't know that he ever could play with a straight pick or he ever could play a fiddle.
Merle had heard him play?
Merle learned from, a fellow that learned from
Jim Mason?
Learned from Schultz.
Sure. You mean Mose Reagan?
Yeah. That's where they claim Mose learned from Schultz.
When you play that style that you play on Mule Skinner Blues, is that anything at all like what he played?
No, that's just something that I'll come up with myself. That stuff there. A lot of my stuff has come out of that kind of stuff, that I knew, that I learned, that nobody never knew where I learned it or anything about it, because I never did tell nobody back in the days, A lot of my stuff had been a secret, something that I loved, It seemed like since I've got older, why maybe it does me good to tell people. But it wasn't none of their business or didn't concern, or they didn't care nothing about it. I never talked to them about it. I have never talked to my brothers about music, because they're jealous type of people with my kind of stuff, They think that they play right, and I play wrong. So I have never said I could even tune a man like.
Didn't they think much of the way Schultz played music?
Yeah, they all loved it. Anybody that heard him play loved his playing.
You were one of the first people who ever thought of putting blues together with mountain or old-time fiddle music.
Well, I was going to be sure through my life I played some blues because I always loved it that well. I wasn't going to do it all together, and just copy a colored man and try to play like a colored man. I was going to play the blues in my way of playing them, Just like playing Scotland, I wasn't going to do nothing but bagpipe. I was going to put some bluegrass in it too, to make it half and half.
In making bluegrass, you kind of remembered a lot of the sounds you heard as a boy and put them all together with something special of your own.
Well, I used stuff that I had heard from a little boy and notes that, that just sunk in my mind that I kept, and stuff that I knew that would help, that I'd like to hear, and I knew the public would like to hear. And that's where it's helped a many fiddler down in that country, see, by me giving him, ideas and things that I knew about it. If you study music deep enough, old-time music, why, you get to learn what's good for it and what's not good for it. And you can't just play it now and not paying attention to it and do that. You got to be thinking about it maybe when you're working doing other things. You've got to keep your mind on that music to really get deep in it. And I think I've studied old-time music deeper than anybody in the country. I really did. I was around 20 years old when my Uncle Penn died. And I've kept his numbers on till now and haven't ever recorded them, you see. And that's a long time to not do something. Just be saving them. Let's see, that's how many years? 33, 4 years, you see. And but that's something I want to do. All and put on record and as near the way that he played them as I can, so they won't be just thrown away, you know, and forgot about. Had the prettiest shuffle on the bow that you've ever watched. My mother could play fiddle too, some. Pretty good fiddler. And could sing. If you'll listen to my work, you'll see that there's blues in it. You know, colored man ain't the only man that's ever had blues.
Yeah.
And he ain't the only fellow that's ever had hardships that he went through a lot. And if you're down in the dumps, you like to play the blues. If you figure you've been mistreated, why, you still want to sing the blues. You don't want to tell your story to somebody because you don't want to put yourself on him, you know, but you'll sing about it. You get enjoyment out of it. If you get blue, well, you get enjoyment out of singing the blues. And you'll write them, and you'll add them to different numbers, and you'll put them in places through numbers that you want to put them in, the notes and things. So I think that you can watch people's, any kind of work they do in the way of music and tell pretty well through their life what they've gone through, if you watch it close enough. Now you know Hank Williams had a lonely life. He had something to write about. If you've got something to write about, really you can write good songs. There's so many of the people that's come along today that sings like the other man sings. You take a fellow that's had money all of his life, and his parents had money, and he got a good education, and never wanted for anything. He never had anything that had the blues about much. Had everything he wanted. You got to take a fellow that's broke a lot of time to really have the blues.
Isn't there more to it than just being broke, though? Isn't it a kind of lonesome feeling?
That's right. But you tie it all in there together, and you're a man that's really down.
Yeah.
You ever had the blues?
Yeah, I think I have. When you were traveling around with Schultz or with your Uncle Pen to play dances, was your sight bad, very bad then?
Yeah. But if you got a good uncle, Ralph, you can really lean on him, you know. And Uncle Pen was a fine man to lean on, I'm telling you. Any man will take you up behind him on a mule and drive for 5 miles back through the country and give you half the money that's taken in that night's a good uncle. Different things like that has effect on you in the way of, you know, how you feel and things. You'd have had money, you know, when you was a kid, you would have never done that. You probably wouldn't have never went and played, you see. Back in the early days, $1 or so was a lot of money.
Was it your Uncle Pen who first played music with you, the first person you really played anything with?
Yeah, to mount anything. You know, Charlie and Bert, we all played, but they left home after my folks died, and so there wasn't nobody around there but Uncle Pen to play with, you know.
Did he show them things as well, like Birch? Did he learn to fiddle from?
Yeah, Birch learned from him.
But he doesn't play anything like him?
He tries to, but Birch don't have the shuffle on the bow right, you know, and never did have good finger, a note in hand. Just, you know, he thinks he plays right, and he probably plays the way he wants to play, but of course I don't think it's the way that I would play. And
did you ever play the fiddle at all?
I play God like Birch.
Did Speed or John or any of those?
They can play a little. They all could play a little.
They all did some when you were a boy, I guess. When did you first start to play any like that, Bill?
Oh, I tried to play when I was around 8 years old, you know, 6 or 8, you know, trying to play. And then somebody lay an instrument down, I had my hands on it, you know, no matter what it was.
Fiddle or guitar?
Yeah, anything I could get a hold of.
From the first, did you like the mandolin the most, or was it something that you didn't see till later?
No, I had to. I'd take the mandolin. I was put on that.
Thank God.
Birch, you know, he was older and he taken the fiddle. Charlie's older than I was, so he got the guitar. I would have liked to play the guitar, or a fiddle either, but so they thought they played the fiddle and guitar, so I'd better get another instrument. Wound up with mandolin.
Wasn't there much banjo around when you were a boy?
A banjo's a wonderful instrument today to fit in a group, but this instrument has got so much more music than a banjo's got. A mandolin or a fiddle has got so much more real down-to-earth music than a banjo's got. Banjo's a good to pick and to fill in, and a lot of people loves it, you know, and thinks it's the best music in the world. But really, a fiddle and a mandolin has got so much more closer harmony and pretty notes together.
And more notes that really lead to the tune. Would you
That's
say?
right, to stay close to the tune. And back them days, you know, there wasn't no good banjos, and so the banjos they'd have would sound like a tin bucket. And that's why I don't like to hear banjos played so loud today. And a dobro to me sound like a tin bucket.
When you first got String Bean to pick the banjo in the band, did he come to Nashville to pick the banjo, or did he come there to play baseball?
He come there to play a banjo,
Banjo.
And do comedy.
Had you thought about having a banjo player in the band before then?
No, back in the days you needed comedy awful bad in a show. People had been trained for comedy, you know, have comedy. And I had cousin, we were on the bass and doing comedy, and I thought I needed the touch of a banjo, you know, in comedy.
Did you like the sound of the banjo when you first added it? Did you feel it added to?
Well, he'd give it some country sound. Of course, bluegrass was moving when the banjo ever got there.
Yeah, it was years. It was 4 or 5
Yeah,
years
banjo
you've
was
been on
about
that.
the fifth child that was born in bluegrass. But it's helped bluegrass. It's done wonderful for bluegrass and got its place.
Did you say the fifth child or the first few?
Well, it's bound to have been the mandolin, the first one.